There are 5 planets we can see in the sky with just our eyes alone. They are Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Because they do orbit the sun and do so at varying speeds, they are not all up at the same time. Some are also easier to see than others. Unlike stars, which make light of their own, planets reflect light like big mirrors in space, and some are more reflective than others. Venus is the easiest to see of all 5. In fact, it's also brighter than all of the stars in the sky when it's out. This is due to its extremely thick atmosphere and closer proximity to Earth. Jupiter and Saturn are both gas giants, so while they are much farther away from us than Venus, they are still very bright in the night sky. If you have a basic telescope, you can see some very interesting features on both of them. In addition to Jupiter's planet-sized hurricane, we call the Great Red Spot, you can also see 4 tiny moons orbiting around it. We call these the Galilean moons, after the person that discovered them first. Galileo Galilei found them in the sky with the very first astronomical telescope. Saturn is, of course, famous for its impressive ring system. While it appears solid, it's actually bits of rock and ice held together by Saturn and its moon's gravity. Mercury is the hardest to spot for a multitude of reasons. It's not only very small and lacking a reflective atmosphere, but it also moves closely around the sun in only 88 Earth days. Mars is also often difficult to spot. It is smaller than us with a thin atmosphere. However, when it's closer to us in its orbit, it is very bright and, of course, very red. You can also spot surface features during these periods with a telescope. Some of these features include mountains and valleys and, of course, clouds over its polar ice caps. We're coming up on just such an approach this October. In the earlier part of the month in the evening sky, Mars will be very red and very large in the sky, even outshining Jupiter. To see planets, you will want to face the south. While they do look a lot like stars, since they don't make light, they don't twinkle the way stars do. Instead, they shine more with a constance. While Mars is going to be at its best in the fall, right now you can see both Jupiter and Saturn near the cosmic teapot in Sagittarius. Venus is also up in the summer, but instead of in the evening, it's best seen in the early morning hours. Right now, it is a very bright object for those early risers out there. You might even get to spot it as you're leaving for work or school, depending on the time. Last on our observation list, we wrap up with our most familiar celestial neighbor, the moon. The moon cycles around us a little over once a month, showing us more and more of its surface as it goes by. There are a few pretty big misconceptions about the moon that you hear from time to time. One is that it has a dark side. Just like Earth, it has a day side and a night side, or a side facing the sun and a side facing away from the sun. It just rotates much slower than Earth does. In fact, its rotation and its orbit are about the same amount of time. This gives us the illusion from Earth that the moon is staying completely still. It is moving, just much slower than it needs to for us to see this movement with the naked eye. The moon looks really close to us, but in reality, it is still very far from home. It's about 250,000 miles away, but that is still close enough that we can see craters and hardened fields of lava all over its surface. Pro tip: next time you look at a nice full moon, pop on your sunglasses. Its features become even more visible with its reflective light cut down. I hope you have enjoyed this introduction to Skies Over Walsh Makerspace. Take care and keep looking up.